Hi, everyone. My name is Sophia, and I'm the Client Success Lead at ClickUp. Thank you for registering today for the Education Management webinar. So in the past, we've been doing some general webinars to help people learn the basics of ClickUp features and how to start organizing things, but we're trying something new this year, and that's targeting these webinars to be more focused on individual use cases. So today's webinar is going to be focusing more specifically on teachers and people that are trying to organize coursework and keep track of student progress and things like that in ClickUp. I'll be covering features like our folder templates, how to effectively create views to manage your workflows, and how to set high-level goals in ClickUp. My portion of these feature explanations will take about 25 or so minutes, after which we'll leave some time to take your use-based questions here. So feel free to send those into me via chat as they come up. You'll see a place on your screen where you can send those in, and I will take a look at them live for you here at the end. And keep in mind that you'll also receive a recording of this webinar after it's over. So if you'd like to watch it again later or share it with other people, you're more than welcome to do that. All right, so let's jump into things. We really recommend, as many of you will know if you've already used ClickUp a little bit, using spaces to break up your ClickUp workspace at a really high level. So your workspace is the container for everything that you're working on in ClickUp, and your spaces can be things like departments, teams, high-level initiatives that you're trying to reach, but really you don't want to have too many spaces. They're just to kind of chunk up your workspace at a high level. So we recommend for this purpose to create one space to manage everything. So this could be named something like coursework, classes, anything like that. You can add some color and an avatar to give your space some personality. And you can also make it private. So if you have sensitive information about the classes you're managing within that space, you can choose to make it private to select people. You'll also be able to set up statuses. These are the steps that your tasks move through, commonly known as workflows. So they show you how your tasks move from when they're first created or opened up to when they're finally closed out. And by default, the folders and lists within this space are going to inherit the statuses that you set up here. But as we'll see shortly when I start creating some folder templates, you can actually change this and set up separate statuses for folders and lists for different workflows. You'll also be able to enable click apps in your space. And these are customizable features that allow you to define how simple or complex you want your workflow in the space to be. And for this purpose, you might not want to enable all of your different click apps if you want to keep things a little bit more simple. For example, if you're not going to need to have multiple assignees or track time in this space, you can always turn them off and come back later if you feel that they're necessary. Finally, you can see your tasks in ClickUp in different ways. So you can see them in a list view, in a board view, calendar view, etc. And this is where you can choose which views you want to have enabled for this space by default when it's created, so you don't have to manually make them yourself. I've already set up a space, but this is just to give you an idea of how you can get that process started. So I've created a space to manage my different folder templates here. But when you create your space, all you'll need to do to create a new folder from a template is come up into your sidebar here and choose from template next to the name of your space. And here you'll see we have templates set up for a wide variety of use cases. And the education one is where we're going to be spending our time today. So I've loaded our class management, class planning, student progress, and syllabus planning templates in here. But you can choose from any or all of these templates and just drop them directly into your space to start playing around with them. Let's walk through these different templates so you can see what each one has to offer. So our class management template is up first, and this is good for organizing things if your class organization needs are pretty simple. So you'll have one list for all of your classes that you're managing, and then inside of that list, you'll have a task for each of the different classes. So inside of each of these tasks, you can keep track of any notes for that class that's coming up. And then you can also have a list going for different assignment submissions. So in this case, I've created a task for each of my students that I'm working with to keep track of their assignments, their pending assignment submissions. And within this template, we have a couple of other interesting things to explore. So for example, we have these custom fields set up here. Um, you can create custom fields for pretty much anything in ClickUp to keep track of anything from the different subjects that you're teaching with a colorful drop-down custom field, the days of the week that your class occurs on with a label custom field, and even the number of students that are in your class and where the class is actually located. You'll also notice here that we have some different statuses set up than we did for the space level. So our folder's taking on our space level statuses, but each of my different lists has different statuses set up so that they can have specific workflows apart from those really simple statuses that we had set up at the space level. So for example, in this template, if you had a different status workflow that you wanted for your classes and for your assignment submissions, you could set up individual statuses for specific lists or just keep them at the space level so you can have a very simple done or not done status set up for your tasks. And just like statuses, your custom fields can be set up at different levels. So you can have a custom field set up for an individual list, but if you have custom fields that you want applied for the entire folder, you can also set those up. So as we can see here in our template, all of those custom fields I was showing in those colorful columns have been set up at the folder level. The class planning template is good if you need a little bit more room to flesh out each lesson in the course that you're managing. So here you'll have lists for each class that you're working with individual tasks for the lessons that you're planning out for that class. In this template, you can also play around with the to-do list to keep track of other random action items that you need to manage for your courses, bigger curriculum goals, or student assignments as well in these other two lists. So these are good if you want to both see your active classes that you're working on and plan ahead for the future while monitoring your student assignment submissions. One cool quick tip that you can explore as you're playing around with these templates is if you find that in addition to the custom fields that you see here, maybe while viewing your whole folder, you think of another custom field that you'd like to put in place. You can always in list view click on this plus sign and quick create a new custom field for your whole folder from any of the options that you see here. So for example, you might, aside from your due date, want a secondary date in place to keep track of when your student's assignment is supposed to be submitted for a first review. Or you could create a long text field to keep track of notes related to your lesson planning. So there are lots of different custom field options that you can explore and add on to these templates. In the student progress template, you'll be able to create a task for each student that you're working with so you can monitor their test results, personal development, anything like that. It's really good for anyone that might be having parent-teacher conferences or just wants to have a visual way of monitoring how their students are progressing throughout the course. Here you can see we have custom fields for things like parent phone numbers, drop-down fields for behavioral status, and even a rating custom fields. There are lots of ways that you can switch up these columns as well. So if you prefer to see them in a different order, you can always drag and drop them around to change the order. Lastly, the syllabus planning template is a place to plan out your coursework in advance. So again, we have lists here for each of the different courses that we're planning out. And we have some custom fields set up for if we need some printed handouts for the class and the topics that we'll be focusing on for that course. In addition to all of these nice columns that we see for each of our templates, there are different views set up at the top of our screen. So in ClickUp, you have the option to see your tasks from many different vantage points. For example, I can click to see one single list. I can see an entire folder. Or if I wanted to see everything going on within my entire education space, I can just click here to see all. And at each of these different levels, we'll see different views at the top of our screen. And these are valuable because it allows you to customize what you're seeing at any level in ClickUp. So not only can I see my tasks at different levels in different ways, like in a list view or in a board view, but I can also sort and filter these views to get different perspectives on my task work. So for example, let's say in my syllabus planning work, I want to be able to prioritize my personal assigned tasks a little bit more. So in this case, I can actually create a brand new list view. And I'm going to create this list view just to focus on my urgent tasks. Within this view, I'm going to add some grouping, sorting, and filtering to help me see my urgent tasks really easily. So first I'm going to switch over to me mode. And in me mode, I'm only seeing the tasks that are assigned to me. I'm also going to add some filtering. So here under the funnel icon, I can click to filter by priority and select urgent tasks. So now I have a customized view of my syllabus planning folder that shows me only the tasks assigned to me, filtered by priority. Anytime you make a change to the layout of your view like this, you have the option to save those changes so that anytime someone comes back to this view, they're going to see the same thing. And if you want ClickUp to stop asking you to save changes anytime you make one in a view, just auto save your view and you can make any changes you want without being asked about that. This is also a view that isn't really relevant to anyone else coming to this folder. It's really just for my use. So I'm going to make it a personal view, which means that only I will be able to see it. Lastly, I'm going to save this view as a favorite so that I can come back to it really easily. And favorites is a great place to store your most important views. So you'll always be able to access your favorites at the top of your screen here. And now no matter where I go in ClickUp, I can always come back to that view and see my urgent tasks in just a couple of clicks. In addition to our list and board view, the calendar view is a great way to see your tasks arranged by start and due date. So it allows you to schedule your tasks ahead of time and really see them from different perspectives. So let's actually jump over to our class management folder. So here on my calendar view, I can see a few tasks already have start and due dates. If I had some unscheduled tasks, they would appear in my right sidebar here, and I can simply drag and drop these onto my agenda in order to schedule them. So as you're scheduling out your classes, your students' assignment work, all you need to do is come into Calendar View to quickly add dates to those tasks. If you need to readjust something in Calendar View, it's really easy to do so just by dragging and dropping it around. You can extend the date a little bit by expanding it and move it around however you need to. If you're working with a lot of students in ClickUp that you're assigning tasks to, Box View is also a great way to see your tasks arranged by person. So in a box view, in whatever location you're in, you'll see a box for each person that has assigned tasks. So it's a nice way to track how many tasks out of their assigned have they actually completed and what's left to do. If you're finding that someone is a little bit overwhelmed and you want to redelegate items, you can also easily drag and drop tasks from one box to another. If you're on our business plan, you'll also be able to see the workload chart here, which makes it really easy to visualize who is getting close to completing all of their assigned tasks versus who still has some outstanding work and might need to be left alone until they actually finish it. In addition to these different task views, which allow you to see your tasks in different ways, you can also create page views, which are really great for keeping track of resources that might not pertain to specific tasks. They might pertain to larger projects. And one that I want to focus on specifically for this webinar is the doc view. So doc views are really excellent for drafting syllabi, creating quizzes, or just generally keeping track of best practices for planning your coursework. As you can see in our template doc view here, you can incorporate lots of rich editing to add context and clarity to whatever you're writing about, including headers, checklists, and bullet points. And you can also embed images and videos directly into your doc views. You can create different pages in your doc views, and you can even nest pages inside of one another if you want to do that and sort of break your doc view into larger chunks. This is also great if your students don't really need to be involved in your ClickUp workspace because you can publicly share a whole doc view or just individual pages with people outside of ClickUp via a public link. So you can choose to only share it with those who have access to it or allow ClickUp to share this doc with Google so that anyone will be able to see it. So if you're using it to write your syllabus or anything like that, it would be very easy to do. Next, I want to talk a little bit about setting high-level objectives for what you want to accomplish in your courses. And a great way to do that is via our goals feature. So goals allow you to set these high-level objectives and break them down into smaller, more measurable pieces, which we call targets. Um, you can actually create different target types when you create your goal. And for each target type, you can also set an owner. So if you want, for example, another teacher or another student to have a target within your goal, you could assign it to them or just keep them all for yourself. When you're creating the target, you need to determine how you want to measure the result. So you might want to have a number-based target. So for example, I have a target for giving 25 quizzes or something. You could do that. You could create a simple true or false target type, so something is considered either done or not done. And you can also create a currency-based target. The tasks target type is great if you want to actually link specific tasks or even entire lists into your goal. So if you do that, as you complete your tasks, you will be able to track the goal's progress in real time. So for example, I have a task target type to grade this assignment. And once I finish that, I'll see my goal progress update in real time. So this is a great way to set a higher level goal at the beginning of a semester or a course, or even have a weekly agenda for yourself, creating a goal every Sunday night to keep track of what you want to get done throughout the week. Lastly, our Chrome extension is also a great tool for saving important websites when you're doing research on the go. So here it's really easy as you're browsing ClickUp to, even if you're not logged in, if you find an important website that you want to save for later, all you'll need to do is go to your bookmark tab, find the list that you want to add this website to, and ClickUp will create a brand new task for this for you. You can even add a due date and an assignee for the new task and a description to remind yourself what this is all about. And this will be available as a new task for yourself once you log back into ClickUp. Before we jump into questions, I want to touch on our new dashboards feature, which is a great way to keep track of your progress on tasks throughout your coursework space. You can actually create different dashboards to monitor reports for your tasks in different ways, and these will all be private to yourself unless you actually decide to share them with other people. So in this case, I've created an education progress dashboard to monitor things like active task workload for my students. So this will let me see how many overdue or how many tasks in active statuses each of my students has. And I've created a completed task widget here, so I can see how many of my students have actually completed tasks. And I've created a widget here to monitor tasks that are currently in progress in this space. So by hovering over this, I can see that I have 19 to-do tasks, a couple planned, etc. So anytime you want to add a new widget in your dashboard, you can do so here, and you can select from any of these different reporting options to see your tasks in different ways. So for example, you might want to see create a status widget for number of tasks in progress, so you can see how all of the tasks are progressing like I have here. But we have lots of different options. You can see, for example, a worked on table, so you can see who's actually been working on their tasks in ClickUp and who hasn't been logging in and being active in the platform. So those are a few tips to get started with our education-based folder templates and features. But now I'd like to jump in and see what types of questions we have. All right, so I'll wait a couple minutes in case any questions come in. Looks like a couple people might have had some trouble getting sound, but looks like some people are getting sound. So in any case, I'm sorry if you are having issues, but you will get a recording of this after if you want to watch it again. But I'll stick around for a few minutes in case any questions are coming up related to these features or related to use case questions that you might have. But again, we will be having these every 2 weeks. We'll be focusing on a different use case. So we have one coming up in a few weeks on for software development teams. We'll have one for marketing teams, sales teams. And we will be posting these on our website so that they'll be publicly available for anyone that wants to watch them. All right. Well, it doesn't seem like we have questions, but thank you again so much for taking the time to attend this webinar in the middle of a work week. I know many of you might be in a bizarre time zone right now and are attending the Pacific time zone webinar right now, but we're also always available to assist you via email and chat if you have questions as you're setting up ClickUp at help@clickup.com. So that's an available reference for you. And Lawrence, yes, I see that you do have a question. Please feel free to send that over via email or via chat right now, and I'm here to assist on that. Georgia, I see you sent in a question. Just wondering why tasks don't always appear in calendar view. So tasks will appear in your calendar view as long as they have a start or due date. If they don't have a start or due date, they will be over here in your unscheduled area, and you can drag and drop them to schedule them. Also, keep in mind if you're looking for subtasks in a calendar view, you'll need to show them as separate tasks. So otherwise, if you have scheduled subtasks, those won't appear in the calendar view. If you have a specific question about your calendar view, I'd also be happy to answer that for you. If you'd like to reach out to us at help@clickup.com, and we can take a look more at your specific question. But any task or subtasks with a date will definitely appear in the calendar view. Lawrence, you ask, is the closed status always still there? So by default, once you close out a task, it will actually be hidden from view, so you can see that task disappeared. But I can always show closed in list view, so it will reappear. And you can also filter by status in any view to show your closed status tasks. And as long as you save the changes to your layout, as we talked about earlier, those closed status tasks will stay in your view. But yes, you do have to have a closed status for your tasks in ClickUp. They always have to have a starting status and an ending status. All right. Georgia, I hope that you were able to find a... Yep, so if it's a subtask, just remember that you'll need to show subtasks as separate tasks in any view to make them show up. But yeah, I would be happy to answer your more specific use case related question in a separate email after the webinar. So feel free to reach out to us and we'll assist you. Lawrence, you ask, I noticed some statuses are editable, but closed is not. Yes, so let's take a look at some statuses just as an example. So you can change the color and the name of your opening status. You can also change the name of your closing status, but we do not allow you to change the color of the closed status. And this is just to maintain complete transparency and clarity about what closed means to everyone in your workspace. Just having that same color really makes it clear that this color signifies closed. And I'll stick around just for another minute or two in case any remaining questions come up. And you're welcome. I'm glad that that was helpful. Keep in mind another cool feature that you can play around with in these templates are calculated custom fields. So if you have a numeric custom field like this, or if you track time in some of your tasks, or if you have a monetary custom field and you put a currency amount in it, if you're on our paid plan, one of our paid plans, you can calculate those fields in list view to find their sum, average, or range. So it's just kind of a quick, simple way to get reports in the list view. Yep, Georgia, exactly. You'll need to show your subtasks as separate tasks, and then they will appear in your calendar view. All right, everyone. Well, thank you again for your time. And again, please feel free to reach out to us at help@clickup.com with any further questions. Have a great rest of your week.